Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and this is going to end up being another guide video. This one's been frequently requested by one of the people that see me on YouTube, and I was planning on getting to this anyway, so the timing is actually pretty good. But this is going to be pretty much about all the souls in the game. Well, not all of them, only the really important ones, because a lot of them are kind of negligible. But I do have to point out some that come with some very, very interesting abilities, if need be. Ones that you will either be using or should consider when you have EX skills. Now, EX skills, before I even get into the souls, is special abilities that the souls learn, as in learn, not innately have. So if it's a skill that they have at level 1, you cannot learn it as an EX skill. So you have to be very careful of that. That's what kind of keeps them a little bit separate. Another thing that keeps them separate is the weapons, but I'll get into that a little bit more later down the line. But anyways, I have to go into this one right here, because she's going to be the one you start off with at the beginning of the game, and you're going to end up having to use her anyways. So that's the definite thing about this. From then on, it just depends on what route you go. But I'm going to quickly glance over some, but others I'll go into full detail. Now, here's the thing. This one starts off with pretty much, like, it says a defense down, but I don't think that's Gawain that really gives this one. Unless they changed it. But Lancelot's the one you start off the game with, and she can increase the attack power of your allies. That's the only real notable thing about her. But as far as I remember, that Legend Slash doesn't reduce defense, so I'm wondering what that's about. They might have listed it wrong. But when you do master her out, she gives an attack power bonus. That's something to know about. But she's mainly there just to start you off. She can increase your offense a little bit, but that's it. And then I don't know the assist ability of her carries out to the entire team or not. 9 times out of 10 it usually doesn't. But the whole thing with her is the fact that she's just there to start you off. Period. She does learn an attack buff you can give to others, so that kind of just nullifies her stuff. However, she's in a group that really gets a lot of power as they level up. So early on in the game, she'll end up doing a lot of damage for you. But you'll get better ones down the line when you learn them. Because when you get to higher points, you need to learn a specific amount of souls. In order to actually get up there, it's always 2, but it's a select few. You usually have to learn the one that's the stronger one down the line, and then you also have to learn a sad one as well. But, anyways, going back. This is one that's kind of helpful in the beginning. And I think she's one of the few that you can even learn this one ability from. Yeah, she is. But anyways, she gives damage cuts more than likely. Now, I'll say that because there's one ability where it says she gets damage cut on herself. See, the listing on this is a little bit weird because I think that this is I think there might be a few mistakes or not. But she comes with an initial damage cut where she'll end up blocking a certain amount of damage for a whole group. So that's good for when you're about to get hit with an enemy's burst move. And then it says she'll cut all damage on herself once. That's a learnable skill, but if that's right. But that's the whole thing. When you use her, she's mainly there to pretty much absorb damage. And given that all souls are in the first slot, they should get hit a lot, but I don't fully know. Because it's said that the chances of getting hit is higher when you're in the first 3 slots compared to the other 2. And souls are always in the first slot. That's the biggest thing. So you may get some uses out of that damage cut. But the thing is, though, too, is the fact that it does not run away until she does get hit. So it will last until she gets hit. The question is, will she be the next one to get hit, or will it stick on her? She's negligible for the most part, but she can give you a defense increase when you master her. And maybe the damage cut might help. Now, this is one you want to pay attention to a little bit because she's got some good stuff. Now, if you feel like Nikke is definitely not going to be a healer for you, or you plan on getting other ones, then Vivian might be a replacement until you do get better healers. But she gives a decent amount of HP recovery, especially at the start of the game. It'll outlast a lot of the damage you take early game, but when you get stronger, it's going to get harder and harder to keep up on it. But she also comes with an EX skill that removes debuffs from you. Only one per character. That's where she's a little bit helpful because of the fact that that's an EX skill that you can learn from her. You may want to use it on other souls. You may want to use her and come in with a different EX skill. So that's the other thing. If you need a little bit of healing but not much, she's an option. But there are better healers. And keep in mind, it's roughly like every 4 turns you can remove a debuff from you. So if you get attack down or defense down or poisoned or anything like that, she'll remove it, but only one at a time. So that's something to know. And at the time I'm making this too, there's an event called, well, I forgot the name of it, but it's where you can get Jeanne, and she is known to actually put debuffs on your party, so actually getting this EX skill could be a good thing. Because she's not going to be the only one that can do it. There's others way down the line to do it. If you've ever done the dark raids, and I mean the permanent ones, not the event ones, the dark raids, you tend to get hit with this a lot. So she can actually be very helpful. And what her mastery bonus does is increase the recovery amount. I don't know if it's to the healing skills that she uses, or if it's just how much she recovers. But as far as I've seen, it hasn't really changed too much. But that's the whole thing. But from what I've heard, there is a healing cap, and you hit it very, very quickly. So that's probably what the master bonus does. It helps you push towards the healing cap a lot easier. So that's something to know. Now, Merlin, I'm not going to go too much into, but she's basically your ability damager. And she can increase ability damage when you master her, but other than that, she's got stuff that's kind of negligible. Because she can give you an ability damage buff, but that's really it. And not too many people really use ability damage because of the fact that it's got cooldowns. And then abilities tend to have a hard cap. Like generally around the 600 to 700,000 range. So when you get stronger, you'll easily see ability damage kind of getting like nerfed a bit. Like even in a few raids that I've managed to pull off, I've gotten 6-digit damage without abilities. So I can easily match or surpass what one ability would do. It still depends on the situation though. Sometimes abilities actually can help you out. Like for instance, if you're trying to take out specific enemies and you don't want to waste turns because you may have buffs up or whatever. But yeah, something to know is that she does carry an ability damage increase. It's not too much. It's rather small to be quite honest. But she's there. Not to mention her ability. The ability she comes in with deals fire and water damage. So yeah. Okay, now this one, I kind of liked her a little bit when I was using her. Excuse me. Now, she's made for reducing the gauges of enemies raging. So that's the whole thing with that. And she can do some stun damage as well. That's why I kind of liked her, because early on, you're not dealing too much damage outside of, like, maybe bursts. But this can also give you some burst level damage really quickly. Now, that's the whole trick with her. She's mainly about the modes that the enemies are in. She's got one where it'll increase the damage she does when the enemy's stunned, and there's one where it's like it'll deal more damage while she's in stun. Yeah, this one is like, yeah, it says a buff when enraging and a buff and just outright damage dealer when enemies are stunned. So yeah, she's going to be pretty much your training for dealing with different modes and whatnot if you actually do want to go for her or have to. Because 9 times out of 10, in order to get specific souls, you're probably going to end up getting all the weaker level souls, which I do believe are standard. Van Helsing is a little bit of a weird one. She's more about debuffing, but not normal debuffing. She's more like hitting with certain statuses. She can do darkness, which actually is a very good skill to have early on in the game. Because when you're still learning things, you're probably going to get hit by quite a bit of damage, and it can rack up pretty quickly, especially if you're doing events. Darkness can put a debuff on the enemy where there's a chance that they'll miss entirely. Now it does not affect their strongest attacks, which are pretty much the when the dots on their raging meter or whatever is filled up, and that's pretty much what we would call an enemy burst. But those charges, once they're all the way up, darkness is not going to do anything, so keep that in mind. But the deal with this is the fact that she can indeed put darkness on there, and then she's got an invalidation EX skill, where if you do put it on a soul, then it'll give them complete immunity towards the next debuff. It can help, but you want more team-wide ones, so it's skippable. But if you know this is going to be a fight that can hit you with a lot of debuffs, especially one that can instantly kill your people, it might be a good idea to get this too. So who knows? Now this is definitely one that a lot of people are going to go through because either by drop rate grinding or the fact that you're going to want somebody that can start debuffing a lot. So, and then her master bonus is pretty good too. And I forgot to mention, the last one had a master bonus that dealt with getting hit with status effects, so that's another one to know. But this one gives a master bonus of more HP. That alone makes her kind of going after when you're trying to like power up your souls and whatnot. The second thing is the fact that she can give you a drop rate increase on one enemy. And it says small, but what it really is one stack of the drop rate increase applied if everything lands. And it's every 4 turns. Every 3 if she's using it, and her chances of doing it is higher. So if you're grinding for items and whatnot, she can help you out. Especially if you're really trying to get like platinum chests from advent events, you might actually want to go with a snatch character. So she can actually have a little bit of use, and even then she'll lead to stronger ones too. So it's actually worth using her. And then going a little bit further, she can give herself a little bit of healing with a small attack and defense increase. So she's got some sustainability and she'll power herself up. So keep that in mind. Now, these ones right here, you're not going to get unless you have Holy Soul points. Well, actually, no, I think you can get this one. Yeah, you can get this one normally. But these two down here, you're not going to get unless you have Holy Soul points, which is from the Union events. So you're not going to be able to unlock them, but they'll lead to some very, very powerful characters. But anyways, this one. Master bonus is going to give you an attack power increase, so even if you don't plan on using her, or the ones further down the line, just at least try to level her out. Because of the simple fact that that master bonus can still help you out. But even then, she's got some good stuff here. She can dish out a lot of damage based on how many buffs is on her. And don't forget, there's going to be stronger versions that can do this as well. But the biggest thing with her is the fact that she'll increase her own attack, defense, and combo rate. Until you get the better versions of this is actually a pretty decent EX skill to have for a soul. Because it can help deal more damage, it can help take less damage, and then on top of that, which is the more important thing, they combo more. meaning that they'll fill up their own burst gauge a little bit more. It's a little bit underrated, to be quite honest, a buff for this type. So, honestly, until you get like team-wide buffs or whatnot, this can be very good for you. So, it's not a bad start to go for. Now, the first of the special ones you'll see, where you need the Holy Soul points, is going to be Crowley. She can increase defense power when you master her out as well. But this is where she gets very, very interesting. Now, if you remember, I think her name was Granuel, but if you remember the gunner that had the self-heal of and the attack and defense buff, well, she gets it as an EX skill, so that's one thing to know. The second thing is the fact that she puts rampaging on, I do believe, all allies, unless there's just one. I don't know if they changed it with the smaller ones, but rampaging is definitely an interesting little move because while you can't use abilities, your damage goes way up because rampaging goes in its own frame. I tend to see my damage double pretty much when rampaging is in effect, so that's something to know. But from what I'm seeing, it's only going to be towards one character. Even if it isn't, there's a better soul to do it. So you're going to want to actually go through her as well, just for a few things like the defense and maybe the EX skill. But this is one that a lot of people tend to go through because it leads to a very, very powerful soul. And this is the other one you can get the Holy Soul points for. First off, the Master bonus is worth it again because, you know, more HP. And keep in mind that Master bonuses do not require the soul to be in the party. So that said, all your souls are going to get that. But the biggest thing about this one that separates them from the rest is the fact that it's going to increase burst gauges, and she can spread it to other allies. So she can increase her own, but her EX skill can spread it to others. So that's something to know. If you're finding your soul actually building up a lot of burst gauge but nobody else is, use her to spread it to others. At least until you get the better one. Speaking of which, we're going to start talking about the elite souls. Now, these elite souls are going to need some requirements, so I'm going to mention them off if you haven't seen it in the game. Gawain's definitely one of the ones I liked having first because of the simple fact that she's got a very nice EX skill. Now, her master bonus is going to increase the attack power as well, so that's something to know. But to use her, you'll not only need more soul points than before. I think all of them are around 200 now. But at the same time, Lancelot and Van Helsing must be maxed out. So that's the one thing to know about Gawain. And this is what's going to really deal some significant amounts of damage too. First off, she's got a skill that can do a decent amount of damage, that's fine. She's got a stronger buff than Lancelot, where it will increase attack power of allies. I do believe it's about 15%. Now, until you get some better souls, or even better characters that can do it as well, this will give you quite a bit of a power jump. Especially if you use it in certain situations. So that's something to know. And then, the biggest reason why anybody usually gets her anyways, is because of this one EX skill right here. Where it's called Sneak Attack, actually. But, or no, Ambush. I think that's what it's called, Ambush. But it's going to really lower the enemy's defense by 20% in the A frame when you use it. Now, if you know anything about attack and defense debuffs, they do go in separate frames in order to stack them. So this is 20% towards the 50% cap. So what it's really doing is increasing your damage by 40% because their defense went down by 20. So that's something to know. Generally double what the defense debuff is doing, and that's how much more damage you're causing. So that's something to know. A lot of people try to factor in their teams to have all 50% of the defense debuffs. So that said, you're going to want to go after her just in case you have somebody that can't cover A-frame. But A-frame is a very popular one to know about. It's found quite a bit. Now, I want to start and go over some of these ones a little bit quicker, because this vid's already hit 20 minutes. But, okay, Roland. She can be a little helpful with some of her stuff, but it still depends. She increases defense when you master her. You need to have Oliver and Beowulf maxed out in order to even have a shot at her. And here's what her abilities do. She gives a huge damage cut. 35% is nothing to shake your head at, but there's still a soul that does it better. And this is to everyone. So for the next turn, it's a 35% damage cut. That's very, very good. And then her rear guard skill, I do believe, can also do it even further. So honestly, you can stack these. From what I've experimented with, you can indeed stack these. So that's something to know about. You have two forms of damage cut. That's something to really pay attention to, just with her. But also, she can put regen on everybody. So it says the maximum is 10% of your HP, but quite frankly, your HP's gotta be stupid low for that. But the upper limit is 200 per heal. So for 3 turns, you're healing 200 HP, which is a grand total of 600. That said, when you use her, she gives slight healing to give you a little bit of sustainability. That combined with characters that can indeed heal, this could actually be pretty useful. And remember, it's an EX skill, so you can put it on others. One thing I have done before is actually have my healer with this EX skill where you can actually get some regen. So she can be worth it. She can be worth it. Now that if this stops jumping all over the place, this is a healer that a lot of people have used, even higher ranks and whatnot. That's because of a few abilities she actually can put on characters. And then her healing is also pretty decent. And of course her master bonus increases recovery amount. But you need Vivienne and Oliver maxed out in order to have a shot at her. But what Cassiopeia can do, she gives a healing of, I do believe, 1,000. Which means you'll get up to 4-digit healing. Well, actually, no, it says 1,200. So yeah, that's pretty good. So she is doing 4-digit healing, so that's something to know. What I was about to say was damage, and here's what she does for that. She will give everybody a defensive buff that's stronger than Vivienne, which is actually pretty up there. If I remember, it's a 20% damage cut. Or 20% defense. If not, it's 15%. It's somewhere around that mark. But taking less damage for 3 turns can indeed help you. And then here's the main reason why people use her is because of this one ability called Chaos Magic. Removes an enemy buff. Again, going back to the Majet event, she can put a lot of buffs on herself if you're really not paying attention. So you gotta keep that in mind. And she does it pretty frequently too. Chaos Magic will just remove one of those buffs, hands down. So in cases where enemies can get you some very powerful, buffs, you're gonna want this. So while Vivienne can remove debuffs, Cassiopeia can remove buffs. Another thing I've done before is actually have Vivienne's EX skill to remove debuffs with Cassiopeia because I knew the enemy was going to do both buffing and debuffing. So I had to point that one out. That's something to definitely know about. Cassiopeia can indeed be quite useful, even later on. Now, Rosencruz is kind of weird. Her master bonus is ability damage. If you're on the path of getting somebody, you need Merlin and Lancelot maxed out in order to get this one. But what she can do is give a large ability damage buff. And then it says twice self-defensive damage to the entire enemy. I don't fully know what that means. But one of the things she gets is being able to deal 4 elements worth of damage: fire, water, wind, and lightning. Now, if you actually do come across a raid that has phantom enemies on it, or any sort of phantom element enemy, which is a rare element to be found, this could actually do you some damage here, because remember, phantom element is weak against every element in the game, including its own. The way phantom element does is double the well, not double the damage, but pretty much add weakness damage to anything it takes and anything it deals. So getting 4 hits of weakness damage actually can do more than you think. So this is actually a decent skill to have, depending on the situation. But probably by then you might have stronger. So keep that in mind. But here's the thing. You're definitely going to want the ability damage increase if anything else. Because this can actually help you quite a bit for teams that can set up ability damage nuking. They do exist. Now, while ability damage isn't really looked towards because of the hard caps and all that, keep in mind that this still is a buff that can still occasionally help you out. Like in the case of allies that can deal crap tons of ability damage, like say, like there's like Susanna O can do it, Artemis can do it, and a few others. This can help you out a little bit in those situations, so it depends. But this is another one that's like kind of niche. Now this one, I like her because of her looks. Especially since I got a thing for twin tails. And she does have a little bit of them. But this is another one that manipulates modes and mode damage, so this is something to know about. And she increases the gauge decrease rate for your soul, just like Beowulf would. Speaking of, you need Beowulf, and yeah, that was Billy the Kid. But Billy the Kid also needs max out. Billy the Kid's the one that came with the low level snatch. So if the enemy isn't stunned, you can deal a crap ton of damage with this move. So that's the first thing she learns. The EX skill she gets, she can outright decrease the mode gauge of an enemy. That's one of the reasons why I liked her. Because it is a direct mode gauge increase. In fights where the enemy has a long range mode, you're going to want this. This can be a very good EX skill to have for those. Like one thing I've always planned on trying to do for the white catastrophe raid, which is a very high level one, is get this EX skill on Herc, because I'm using that soul, and then also have Raphael, and that was severely cut down the mode for that white raid because she has an extremely long one that lasts like half her health bar. So yeah, that's something to know about. But she also can she also has a damage nuke that will deal a lot of damage to raging enemies, which is also an EX skill. It's okay, but it's very situational. And for some strange reason, abilities that seem to have a damage increase only in raging mode, they seem to reduce the raging gauge a little bit more than what you would expect. Maybe that's just me, but that's something to know. But when it comes to stun nuking, yeah, she can do that. Which is indeed a thing, because you can deal a crap ton of burst damage if the enemy's stunned. There's a few characters in the game that can do that, and it's very powerful. Now this is another one that I think her name is Asmund. But this is another one that can also be very useful. Now, she's got a resistance towards getting debuffed if you master her, so that's something to know. You need Van Helsing and Merlin to max her out. Now, here's the interesting parts. She can cause poison, darkness, and dazzle to the enemy. That is a decent combo, because remember, darkness is blinding the enemy, so there's a chance they might miss. Dazzle on top of that has a chance of just outright preventing them from doing any actions that turn. And poison is just damage over time, but that's just extra. But the Dark Dazzle combo is a very powerful one. And then if you can get it, you can get an avoidance buff, which will stack with the darkness one. So having those three all in effect can really, really lower the damage you can take. But if you are set on the enemy having like specific patterns, then Dazzle might actually ruin it for you, because it might hold them up for a turn, and then it's like, okay, I might have wasted my buff or debuff or something like that. That's the whole thing with that. Dazzle is mostly helpful, but there's a few times it can screw you over. But all in all, it's a very good effect to actually be able to put on enemies. What she really gets for the EX skills, she can increase the chance she can increase the chances of preventing getting debuffs. So what she does is increase your resistance for the whole team until you get a very powerful EX skill from the one that's stronger than her. This can help you out quite a bit. Remember, you do not want to get debuffed at all. They're far more dangerous towards you than your enemies. Believe that. Speaking of debuffs, this is the only place I've managed to see this from the souls. But she can decrease the combo rate of enemies, and by quite a bit. This is actually a very good EX skill. If you really want to cover all spots with the one that's stronger than her, you're going to need this EX skill, so keep that in mind. But from what I can tell, it's a very nice combo rate debuff, because I have seen enemies combo a lot less with this one, even ones that combo a lot. So if you do manage to land that, she's actually pretty good for it. So she's worth knowing about. Now then, this is where it starts getting a little bit interesting with these type of characters, because she's just good all around until you get the better version of her. Now then, her abilities. What she does, she gets the same recovery, attack, and defense buff as the previous version of her, which would be Billy the Kid. So that's something to know about the sustainability. I'll get that out of there, but it's stronger than Billy the Kid's. But things that help her out. Master bonus is more HP. Always a good thing to have for your souls. You do need to know Vivian and Billy the Kid, which are more than likely going to end up doing at some point. You do need to have those two maxed out in order to learn her. But where she really shines is her snatch is just like Billy the Kid's, only goes off twice. Billy the Kid does like one stack of snatch. This one can do two in one go. And then if you're going for item drop rates, you are going to eventually get this. So it's another EX skill that could be worth it. But what really can help you out is the small attack and defense down she gives towards all enemies. It is a B-frame debuff, and it is useful until you get the stronger version. But keep that in mind that she can help you out very early on if you go for her. That debuff is very, very nice to actually have, because not too many Kamihime in the game can actually get a B-frame debuff, so this can cover it quite a bit. So she's worth learning, especially if you're going after the stronger version of her. Now then, going into Achilles. Just like the one before her, she can do some very interesting stuff. And that would have been Spartacus. Spartacus is one requirement to actually learn her. Merlin's the other one. You have to max those both out. Master bonus will give you more attack power. Very nice to have. Always try to get to the ones that have more attack power, more HP, and even more defense so you're taking less damage. Well, your soul anyways. But what she does is a stronger version of the one move that deals damage based on your buffs. I have seen this hit the cap. It's just kind of tricky, because the hard cap seems to be about 700,000. Does that necessarily mean you can't go higher than that? No. But it does make it a lot trickier. But anyways, what she does for EX skills, and this is where they start getting kind of interesting. She increases her attack power, her ability damage, and her continuous attack probability higher. Meaning her combo rate, her attack power, and her ability damage all go up in this one move. To push it even further, she gives herself energy drain and defense up. What energy drain can do is absorb the HP of enemies you hit. And it's not much, but it can give you a little bit of sustainability. So that's where she's starting to really pick up. So she can give a little bit of survivability to herself while doing a little bit of damage. But keep in mind, the energy drain is actually kind of powerful. Where it's, powerful along these type of skills anyways. It's a drain of 300. So, each time you hit an enemy, 300. But you gotta do it through normal attacks. You are healing by that much. Assuming she can combo the highest rate all 3 times while this is in effect, that will give her a total drain of 2,700 HP. Now you see where I'm getting at. Because it'll be 900 and she'll do it 3 times. If you can get her to triple combo all the time. Considering the fact that the soul you get after her, well, the soul you can get after her, keyword can, is a very good one, you're going to go through this one anyways. And I don't know if she gets energy drain or not, the one higher than her, so who knows, that might actually help out. Now, this is one that's also going to take Holy Soul points, so you're going to need to go through that one. And the one before her also needs it, so it can get a little tricky. But Cagliostro, who also happens to be my favorite character from Grand Blue Fantasy, she just looks totally different. But Cagliostro, you need Vivienne and Crowley maxed out in order to get her, along with Holy Soul points. Now, you do remember that Holy Soul points have to be collected from Union events. You can't get them the normal ways. And there's actually a lot of ways to get soul points, but the holy ones is the tricky ones. But anyways, she also gives another rampaging buff. And this one's stronger than the previous one. I said before that the rampaging I usually see about double damage with it. Well, it still depends on the rampaging buff, but in the case of her, it's stronger than the previous one, so it just might actually hit the double damage mark. I don't know for sure. But what she can do is give a stronger HP recovery to one character while actually buffing their attack and defense. I do believe it's a B frame one. So, that said, this can actually be kind of helpful. And then it's a lot of recovery. It's one character, but it's a lot of recovery. And what also comes into play, and it's a very interesting effect, forces double combo rate on one ally. This EX skill can actually be a little bit useful, because it forces a double on somebody. So you gotta keep that in mind. So it is a very interesting little effect. She might actually be worth going for, because the one higher than her has got some very nice tricks up her sleeve. But the last of the elite souls, Masamune, chances are you're going to go after her eventually if you want some high tier damage. She'll give you more HP with her master bonus. Again, always worth HP, always worth attack, always worth defense. But if you're like me, you'll get all the souls eventually anyways. But you need Beowulf and Yukimura maxed out in order to learn her, and a lot of Holy Soul points. And keep in mind, Yukimura already needs the Holy Soul points, just like Crowley did for Cagliostro, so you're going to be spending quite a bit of them. But here's what she brings, and it's actually pretty good. Now, the first move she does increases her own burst gauge. Again, nice to know. Remember how the first one sacrificed some of her burst gauge to increase one ally? This one sacrifices some of her own to increase it towards all allies. And then combined with her next EX skill, which increases everybody's combo rate, is very, very good. So, preparing people for bursts, she can actually do pretty nicely. And I've used her EX skill quite a few times. Because increasing everybody's combo rate is always helpful. So that's something to know. She's definitely worth getting. Especially since you're going to get into these more powerful ones, which are the legendary souls. And I'm going to go through them all in very full detail. What I mean by that is the fact that when you do the catastrophe fights, because I've already mentioned the light one, but when you do the catastrophe fights, you will get regalia fragments and actual regalia if you actually started the raid. They will allow you to trade for these souls' weapons. All the legendary souls have 2 weapons they can get, but they can get it in every single element. So if you really are trying to hunt them all down, which I can't see why you would do that, but it's a thought. But if you really are trying to hunt them all down, that is 12 weapons per character. You have a lot of grinding on your hands if you're trying to do that, especially you want to max them all out to level 125. So, yeah. Now, you got to be very careful about this one, because these are where your choices can matter quite a bit. So pay very close attention to what each one does. But if you are trying to get master bonuses, these ones give the most. So you can really stack up a lot of increased Search of Souls. But let's start off with the first one, which a lot of people tend to like to use anyways. And I will give my personal ratings on each legendary soul on a scale of 1 to 10. But you need Gawain and Asmund maxed out to even learn Arthur. And her master bonus gives you more attack power. Again, always worth it. And quick notable thing to mention, her innate bonuses as she levels up can spike the crap out of her attack power. So she actually will be one of the ones dealing a lot of damage if you actually are using her. Especially early game. Because she increases it by a whopping 4,000. Her own raw attack power going up by 4,000. That's why you'll notice her having a huge jump between the other ones. Here's what really makes her strong, and it is very, very good. And I'm also going to speak about some stuff that the legendaries will get later down the line that also will cost soul points. I don't know if it costs the holy ones, but it will cost them. Now, first off, her first move, every 6 turns she can maximize her burst gauge to its fullest point. That means, use this skill, her burst gauge is full. Full. Combined with the EX skill of another soul, this can be a very powerful combo. And I will get to her eventually too. But what this one can also do even further is do an ability damage nuke that you can put on other souls as an EX skill. And it will be a 3 to 4 times mod, which is actually pretty strong. It's just under the burst attack mod. But the burst seems to follow its own rules anyway, so who knows. The next skill, which I've seen a few people use as the EX skill, I've done so myself. Avalon's Guidance increases everybody's attack power. I know it's raw stats by 20%, so it's a 20% A-frame buff. It's a very good one. And she has a weapon, I will go into further detail, which will power up this skill. She also has a weapon that will power up the other one where it's about her burst gauge. It will power up that one as well. Now, this is where it goes even further. It says attendance scoring attack probability up. That means it'll probably increase our own combo rate. And then I don't know what the high spirit's going to really do, but I gotta go look into that a little bit further. And there's 2 assist abilities that the legendary souls come into contact with, so you need to know about that one. But I'm not going to go into details about the assist abilities because they'll naturally be there regardless. If you truly want to know about them, you can look them up on the soul itself, but yeah, that's something to know about. But anyways, from what I'm seeing, more people in the raid for Knight's Majesty, her first unlockable skill, the more people in there, the better it gets. So it was a raid-oriented one. So from what it seems like, this one doesn't even give advantageous attribute for this, but it does seem to have an activation rate, and it'll give like a 20% damage, really. From what it's saying, it's going to give you a sneak attack chance from what I'm seeing here, meaning that it's practically a critical hit. If you've seen Stinger weapons, it's pretty much a buff that does it. So it definitely does say that. That's probably the reason why I said the more people in the raid, the more beneficial. Because buffs that come from a soul that affect the entire team, I do believe it's affecting everybody too. But buffs that affect the entire team from a soul tend to affect other people in the raid too. So that's something to know. Like the attack up buff, the ability damage buff, the defense up buff, they tend to do that. There's a select few that won't. But this definitely helps. So it is a 20% chance of a 1 point times 2 damage mod. By the looks of it. Because sneak attack tends to go in its own little frame. So it's like a critical hit, basically. So if anybody that really knows a damage calculation formula, yeah, it will be pretty much assault plus elemental attack, and then this will end up in its own little multiplier. So that's something to know. And then the other one, it says the more physical strength you have, the more damage it will be given. This one, it seems to be a vigor one. So that said, she will give herself a vigor buff. And like I said with the sneak attack, vigor is in its own frame. I think it shares it with rampaging, if I remember right. So she can really amplify the damage she does if you put all these buffs on. Especially right before a burst. Because vigor will do a lot with it. I don't know if sneak attack affects burst damage. It can, it might not. I haven't fully confirmed that. Just know that this can do a lot for a very, very huge combo. But the thing with vigor, it says the more physical strength you have. What that means is a higher HP, the better off you'll be with vigor. As in current HP. If you hit 50%, this is not going to do anything. Keep that in mind about vigor. And then there's two specific weapons that she basically has. Her sword weapon, this one comes with a few things. First off, when she deals her burst, it will end up having an attack power increase. I think it's to herself, but I don't fully know. But it's pretty much like an attack power buff, and it's going to be like 35%. But her secondary effect, which is going to be here, is that it will also lower her instant burst gauge fill by 1 turn. So every 5 turns instead of every 6. That means she'll be guaranteed to pretty much burst 2 times before somebody can fill theirs once if they never combo and never have anything else to raise it up. So that's something to know. That means you can probably get that attack power increase up very quickly. And speaking of attack power increase, this one, when used on your weapon grid as with Arthur in the lead, will give you 30% more elemental attack. That's what makes some of these weapons special. Now her secondary one, well, it's up to 30%. But this other one she has, which is the axes, this one seems to have this special effect where it will increase her her buff effect for her attack power buff by putting a second frame in there. So it's going to be the Idolin frame, I do believe. It's called the D frame, but it's really the Idolin frame. So you'll get a 20% attack buff in her A frame, like normal. You get a 20% one in her Idolin frame. That said, it is a 40% attack power increase. Well, 40% assault increase, if you want to be honest. This can be very, very good. And her secondary effect is pretty much a 30% HP increase up to that much. It still depends on skill level. That is actually a very interesting combo. But the fact that you need an HP weapon for this one means that your offensive ability might take a slight hit. It depends on different mods and whatnot that you have, like elemental attack and assault and all of that. But the fact that she gets a 40% buff instead of a 20% one, it pretty much doubles the effectiveness of her buff. And the fact that it comes in 2 frames makes it harder to remove too, so that's something you need to remember. Like for instance, an enemy's going to sit and try and remove one layer of your buffs, well, you lose half of the buff, not all of it. So that's something to know. But like I said, I have to really go into details with these, so this is where the video is going to start getting a little bit longer, unfortunately. Keep in mind, the special weapons you can get for the souls can be on any element, so yeah, grind the crap out of those catastrophe fights if you can. And we'll get harder ones too eventually. But anyways, Jeanne d'Arc, I like using her quite a bit when I need a little bit of defense. Because sometimes offense can't carry you all the way through. You sometimes need to be able to withstand attacks. And she can help with that. I've even gotten her weapon for fire teams too. But some people are saying it's not worth it. Others saying it is. Personally, I think I'll still end up using it anyways. But it'll give me a little bit more options. But you need, it says Lawrence. I forget what her name is. What was her, name? Oh, that was Roland. See, that's why I hate that. But that was Roland you need maxed out, and Gilgamesh maxed out as well, in order to learn Jeanne d'Arc. So, here's what she does. Her normal ability, which is not an EX skill, is a 40% damage cut. Remember this because it can get altered. Now, her second buff, it is a double attack increase and a regen added to everybody on the team. Just the regen alone makes it worth it, but the fact that she can up your combo rate is also nice. This EX skill, worth noting because of what it does. Attack down in the A frame by 20%. So, you've pretty much cut your damage by 20%. The damage you've taken by 20% by using this. So, you better hope that one lands. Now, some special abilities you'll be able to learn later down the line. Cut all damage towards one ally one time. That means one person is not getting hit with any damage whatsoever. If you have a Kamihime that can draw attacks to himself, then that's something to really keep in mind. Because it will make them draw all attacks, and on top of that, they won't take any damage. I could see a little bit of use with my light team on this one if I really set up a defensive counter team, because I have Shamas, who has an attraction skill, which ups the chances she'll get hit, and she can combo. Like counterattack combo, if necessary. So if the enemy hits her like 3 times, it'll get hit 3 times back with some serious half force. Where this can kick in is the fact that it doesn't always last. So that said, when you actually put this with that, her counterattack can wear off, but this will cut all the damage she takes. And it says the one time, so I guess it lasts until they get hit. So yeah, that's something to know. And the next one seems to be stackable. But it is a defensive stack. So it's going in the stacking frame. And you can use it every 2 turns, meaning it gets 15 stacks. That's something to remember, because that probably can help you out at some point. But yeah, the damage cuts, yada yada yada. Now my guess is that this defensive buff that stacks is only like maybe 1%. But it can go up pretty nicely. But her defense can also go up pretty good too, altogether with master bonuses and whatnot. So, that said, she can start taking a lot of hits, surprisingly, and at all times. So, you gotta keep that in mind with this. She can help you out quite a bit. And the Orleans Call, I do believe, it's either a 250 or a 350 heal per turn. Either way, I remember it doing a lot, so it's a regen for the whole team. It's very good. Now then, she gives herself another damage cut when she uses her burst with her special weapons, based on how strong it is, up to a 40%. Keep that in mind. Her first skill, which is her sword. Her first special weapon, which is her sword. It will increase the attack power, the elemental attack power, by up to 30%. So that makes her spear, which is a flag, the HP increase by up to 30%. All souls have that same special function. But where it differs is this. Her sword, where she has the Orleans Call ability, it has its cooldown time reduced. Now, if you remember, Orleans Call can only be used every 8 turns. Now it can be used every 6. So you can have a regen up about half the time as long as debuffs aren't removed. So it's a bit of a defensive thing for an offensive weapon. But the main reason why you want to get her anyways, get her special weapons anyways, is probably this flag. Because it will put her damage cut by another 20%, making it a 60% damage cut total. And if you combine this with her burst, it's a 100% damage cut, meaning that you will almost always reduce all the damage you take. Because there's some things that can get around the damage cut. We haven't seen too many of them, but they can. But you will almost always take no damage if all of that's in effect. And then keep in mind that you can also summon different Adolins or get other Kamihime effects that can lower the damage as well by elements or other things. This will make you take so much little damage just from the fact that you're getting a 60% damage cut. That's why I went for it with my fire team, because they're good for offense, but they can't take too many hits. It's said to have fire and melee thunder as glass cannons, where they just deal crap tons of damage, but quite frankly, a little defense can't hurt. Plus, they usually need HP anyways. This is 30% more. This flag is the main reason why you would even consider this soul. And I forgot to mention, I was going to rate souls by a scale of 1 to 10. I'll go through each one. I'll do it at the end. I was planning on doing it in between, but I keep talking and I'm going through here. I don't rehearse this crap when I go through this stuff, so keep that in mind. But, yeah, we're getting about into an hour into things. Andromeda, I'm not going to go into her as much detail as the others, but I will go into her a little bit. Of course, recovery amount, that's something she'll get as a master bonus. Cassiopeia and Warrant. I think that's Roland. Cassiopeia and Roland have to be maxed in order to learn Andromeda. She's got some good stuff that you need to know about. First and foremost is that her HP recovery can get up to 1,600, which is very large in this game. Now, granted, your HP totals can hit quite a bit. I have 10 times that HP on my light team in certain circumstances. But that's still a very chunky heal. So, that's one thing to know about. If you're really looking for healing and healing amounts alone, this is something to go for. But she also gets an A-frame defense up buff of 20%, which is actually pretty large. Along with all the defensive buffs, this is actually one of the higher ones. It's not often you can find stuff that can go higher than that. This EX skill instantly revives a dead character. Chances are your soul won't be able to get revived. There's like a select few characters in the game that can probably revive your soul. So if the soul dies, pretty much assume that you're not going to have this ability. But your Kamihime dies, you can bring them back. This can extend the fight. And in cases where you need a certain number of Kamihime to survive, like the entire team or something like that, yeah, this can save you the trouble and actually keep them up there. But some extra stuff she'll be able to learn later down the line. She can invalidate one debuff. All allies. That is something that is so good. So very, very good. Because there's a lot of cases where you just don't want to get hit with something. Like I said before, there is a debuff where it will instantly kill you when it finally runs off of you. Like say 1, 2, maybe even 3 turns, the debuff will be on you. When it removes your HP along with it. Yeah, this can prevent that. Guaranteed. There's also very annoying ones too, like paralysis, where you just can't move, or ones where your burst gauge rate is lower. There's quite a few annoying ones. This can just block one of them. So there you go. And Tranquility, I have no clue what that is, but I'll find out. And keep in mind that her assist ability is very notable, knowing that you can put her revival skill on any soul, but when it's on her, that is an 8-turn recovery time instead of a 10. I had to point that out for her assist ability because that's something to know. Oh yes, this is something that's so very good. I like this ability right now from what I'm seeing right here. This ability right here, where it says Tranquility, what it really is Indomitable. And what that does, it prevents you from dying for 3 turns, 1 ally. But I think the minute it triggers, it will be removed. But that is a very, very good one. That automatically makes it very worth it. But here's where she really, really shines. Her burst. When she has either of her special weapons, and there's 2 of them too. It says Cosmic Planet Chain. I guess that's her spear. Because strangely, healers get spears too. I'm guessing that's her spear. When she has her spear, it will give the whole team up to 30% more HP. When she has her staff, it's up to 30% more attack power. I don't know if this is backwards or not. Keep that in mind. I've seen some things are already wrong. But, yeah, this is something to know. That's where it's the elemental attack and whatnot for the staff, I do believe. But here's where her stuff comes into play a lot. First off, her burst, either weapon, when you start increasing it, the upper limit of recovery increases. Meaning that 1600 heal is going to go even higher. So you got to keep that in mind. But it doesn't apply to the regen. So, yeah. It doesn't apply to her regen if you get it. But her heal will get a regen of 350 over 2 turns. Meaning it will be up to 700. So, her healing ability will give you an extra 700 on top of the 1600 it gives. Or 2400 if you get her weapon all the way up. That's a lot of HP. That's like like, if you know about the Kamihime Soul, which most people usually do because she's like the most well sought after one, that is like soul levels of healing right there. If you got all that stuff in effect, it is very good. The regen is also an A frame, so if you can get a regen in a different frame, then that really helps. Like a Dolan one maybe, who knows. But her other weapon increases her defensive buff. Now remember how I said before that the attack one that Arthur could have had would give an extra 20% in the Dolan frame? Well, that's what this one does. Extra 20% defense in the Dolan frame. So that said, you'll get a 40% damage decrease over a few turns. Well, I don't know if it's a raw 40%, but it does help. So yeah, she can actually be pretty useful. I wasn't intending on going on into so much detail with her, but I found something that really overridden it. Now, Solomon's one I probably won't have to do too much on, because she's not really sought after too much unless you're doing like Tower of Malice, in which case you can kill off stuff pretty easily on her own, making your Kamihime missions a free ride. But you need Rosencruz and Gawain maxed out in order to get Solomon. And you will most likely see Solomon very easily if you're just going by who's the cheapest, because she takes the cheapest amount of soul points in order to really learn. And I'm not kidding. I think it's a grand total of 700 just to get to this point, where others need like 1,000 or so, I do believe. But anyways, ability damage up when you master her. Nothing too special. Now here's where her abilities can actually come in. And she might actually have some use when you get her later down the line. I can see that right off of some of this stuff. Now, her first skill is this a 4.5 to 5 times nuke. That is actually pretty strong when it comes to ability damage. So yeah. Then her Solomon Ring, which is an EX skill you can put on others, which I've done so before. Remember Phantom Element. But this will deal all 6 of the normal elements. All 6 of them. So yeah, it can hit for quite a bit if you actually get the right circumstances. I've seen this skill hit for 700,000 total. So like I said, right circumstances, there you go. Her second skill. It says effect time 1 turn, but honestly, I think it stacks. So what it really does is like 1 usage. It's a weird thing to describe it, but yeah, any of these little stacks where it stacks ability damage like hers or Sevarog's or other Kamihime that you may come across, the more you stack this, the more ability damage she'll just dish out. But only for the next ability she uses that actually deals damage. But when you eventually when we can start using soul points to beef up our souls even further, she'll get one that's an oversized ability damage increase for everybody, which is probably going to be 30%. So yeah. And then this is where it will get pretty interesting. You can use your ability immediately. I don't know if it means it will reset all her abilities or if it will just reset the one that she targets. But that's interesting. If she can target somebody with this, that's even better. But being able to take your abilities off a cooldown is very, very notable. That's something that's actually kind of worth. They said she gets a balance adjustment too. So, yeah. But it doesn't seem to have any more info on some of her sad stuff, so who knows. If you are looking for more ability damage, she's definitely the way to go. But at the same time, too, she's been used for slight few things. Like I said, Tower of Malice players have used her for earlier floors and quickly clear those. But if you are interested in her weapon, then the stronger it gets, I do believe the bigger the ability damage increase she'll be able to do. So it can actually get quite a bit. And my guess is that her it says Wilmington Key. I'm guessing that's going to end up being the special sword, the daggers basically, or the glaives. That's what they're calling them. Her glaive is going to end up being the one that increases elemental attack. Her staff is going to be the one that increases HP. But her stackable move will get powered up because it says it'll be in 2 turns. And then it'll just get stacked and have even more power behind it. I wouldn't care about it too much. The one that you probably would want to care about is the fact that it will make her one of her moves go towards the entire team. So that said, it will take this one nuke, whereas one enemy, and put it to the whole enemy group. That's probably the main reason why they even use her in Tower of Malice. That alone is probably the main reason why they use her, especially since it comes with her ability, her elemental attack weapon. So that's probably the main reason why they use her. If you want to go after her, then yeah, that's notable. Oh boy, I've been talking for a while. Siegfried. This is another one that people tend to just not really go for too much. But she's another mode gauge suppression, so with her, she can decrease mode gauges a little bit more. You need Gilgamesh and Granuel maxed out to earn her. Now this one, attack damage to enemies in stun state up maximum. This can deal a lot of freaking damage. I've used her before for that. So for stun nuking, this is very, very powerful. I have indeed used her in a Thunder team because I have TYR who can also stun nuke. Those two together was doing some insane burst damage when I waited till stun. Some insane burst damage. Now this one, this next EX skill, which can help, but it doesn't really do too much from what I've noticed, increases the mode gauge decrease of allies, meaning that it will up the amount of raging meter it'll remove. It can help, but I haven't really seen too much that it really does, so it's negligible for the most part. Unless you absolutely must get rid of somebody's raging meter, then maybe. But I wouldn't take it as an EX skill, since there's a lot of other ones that can be better. Now this one, her overdrive ability, 4 to 5 times damage while enemies are enraging. This can hit pretty hard. It really can. Just make sure they're enraging. Now, these EX skills are looking pretty nice that she can get when you strengthen her. And it says same land, so I'm guessing that only Gilgamesh and Beowulf will be able to get these, or something like that. But one guarantees 2-stage attack for 3 turns. That means double attack for 3 turns. And the second one, which looks very, very powerful, it says damage upper limit for all allies increased. So what that's saying is probably that ability damage might be able to go even higher. I am curious about that. Raging Reinforcement. I don't know full details on it. It doesn't say it right here. But if I'm correct, that can be very, very good. She can look like she can do some serious burst damage just looking at her weapon. But both weapons. Additional damage where it's dependent on the burst damage she deals. A chunk of it is added as extra damage. So, by the looks of things, when you max it out, say she does like 1 million burst damage, she's doing an extra 400,000. That could be pretty good, and depending on how strong it is. It's like an extra tick of damage. Especially saying that you can stun nuke for way, way more. That's just insane. So yeah, that's something to know about. It says overdrive is activated twice. Oh. I see. So her sword weapon, her glaive weapon, when you use it with when you use her raging nuke, it hits twice. So that can turn it into one hell of a damage nuke. That's not too bad. And then her other one, which is going to end up being the hammer. It's an additional increase to her her raging meter buff. It says it'd probably be about 20% increase the mode gauge reduction, which honestly that amount can be quite noticeable. I wouldn't go too far for the hammer because it's also an HP weapon. That double overdrive is looking way better combined with the burst damage. Okay, I underestimated it a little bit. It can be pretty good. Depends on how you use it. And boy, this video is getting kind of long. I'm sorry I keep saying that. Mordred. This is a soul that a lot of people tend to go after very quickly. You'll see why. Here's the thing. Status resistance can go up when you master her. You need Asmund and Rosencruz maxed out in order to get Mordred. But this is a lot of the reason why you like having her. First off, out the gate, she's able to use an ability called Outrage. B-frame attack and defense down by 10%. 10% isn't that much, but it's still B-frame and it's still very helpful. And here's the other thing it does. It gives poison, burn, putrefy, drown, blind, and dizzy. She hits you with a whopping 8, count them, 8 debuffs. And this is just starting off. Second, which is getting even better, an EX skill that boosts your status resistance while lowering the enemies. And it applies to everything. Your whole team has a better chance of avoiding a status effect. The enemy team has a better chance of getting hit with a status effect. We're still not done. Her third skill. Remember how the enemy uses those orbs in order to charge up their burst moves? Say they got 2 orbs, it takes 2 turns, or 3 orbs and it takes 3 turns. This adds an extra 1 to their maximum for that, making their charges a little bit longer. This is a very, very powerful move. And to go even further, it says reduce self-attributed damage and charge turn by one enemy unit. So what it's doing is pretty much dealing up damage based on whatever attribute weapon you have, just like most of these abilities. But then it's also lowering the enemy's charge gauge by 1 turn. Use this with the one I just previously mentioned. That's a 2-turn difference. Of course, you can't use this every single time, but yeah, that is powerful. That is a powerful combo. And then on top of that, based on the number of debuffs you put on an enemy, this will dish out damage. This next skill. Keep in mind, she can put 10 debuffs on the enemy, which, unless the resistances are kind of high, likely will get all of them off. Even the blind and dizzy. All of that is very, very powerful. She has a very powerful combo of abilities. Now you see why people kind of want her so very quickly. For players that are starting out, I will flat out say this out the gate. She will very, very greatly help you out, especially on specific teams that can't really get B-framed too easily, like Light or Thunder. I've seen some good usefulness for her on both Wind and Fire, depending on the situation. She's very good, just all around. Now then, getting to her weapons, and she can use a glaive and a sword and a glaive. Getting to her weapons, she gives a combo rate down on an enemy. That is very good, just upon a burst. So this means that, remember how Asmund had that ability where she can put combo rate down? Well, you won't need that EX skill with this. Get her sword, it is a 30% elemental attack. And then when she uses Outrage, it also reduces the enemy's raging meter. It says by about 13%. It isn't too great, but it is very, very, very good. At least in some situations. But honestly, I think the better one goes to our HP weapon, which is a glaive. What that will do, when she uses Outrage doing all those debuffs, she'll remove one buff. So she'll land 8 debuffs and put and take out one buff while she's at it. Yeah, the glaive is definitely the one to go for among the two of those. I can say that right out the gate. Sure, it's HP, but hey, HP never really hurt anybody. But yes, Mordred, very, very good. This is another one people go after, but not to really use unless you're like really debuff reliant on damage-based skills instead of just across the board. But I don't really know how to pronounce her name fully. I just call her Artanian or Dart. But and you got to pay attention to her stuff too, because she can only use guns. So you got to pay attention to what each one does. I'll get to that later though when we get down there. But Granuel and Cassiopeia both need to be maxed in order to learn this one. Remember that self-recovery that the gunners tend to have? Well, hers is at its highest point. A self-heal of 2,000, which is very large healing, with attack and defense up. It might be about 20%, I don't know. But it's very good. It gives her a lot of sustainability from when I've used her. She gets Snatch third. 3 stacks of Snatch. Combined with the other one from Granuel, you can get 5 stacks of Snatch in one go. Every 3 turns. You see what I'm getting at with the item grinding. Here's the main reason why people go after her, though. She will do a 20% defense and attack down. B-frame. Remember how I mentioned that B-frame is a little bit rare? Yeah. There's frames that's even rarer than that, but it's still the fact that B-frame is a little bit rare. And she gives you a 20% B-frame. And it's not to one enemy, it's to the whole enemy team. There's been quite a few times I've used this EX skill. Very, very good. If you were to get her for any one reason, this is probably it. Now then, she's got a Snatch EX. It says drop rate large. I don't know if it'll apply 4 stacks. Quite frankly, you use this, you don't need to get them Granuels. And then eventually later down the line, she can sip and deal damage based on how much Snatch you applied. So, yeah, that's something to know. But going into this, either one of her weapons, you will be able to do more combo rate after bursting. That's already pretty good. Now, this is where you gotta pay attention because both her weapons are guns, but one's shaped differently from the other. I just don't know the exact one. If you're grinding, this first one can actually be pretty helpful, or you just want a more offense period point blank. But her elemental attack one comes with an increase of snatch, where instead of 3 times, it's used 4 times. So 4 stacks of snatch. Or 6 if you do it right. Maybe more. And her other one, which is the one most likely is going to be grabbed by people, if they go for her stuff, increases HP, but also adds a 10% frame, 10% add-on frame debuff to both attack and defense, making her sniper shot pretty much a 30%. That's the main reason why anybody's going for her as a main soul. But just to get her abilities for sniper shot, that's very good. So, yeah, you're going to want her eventually. Eventually. Now, whether you plan on using her is a totally different story. But oh boy, this one I have quite a bit of experience with. I really don't even need to look at the page, but we're going to go through this anyways. Well, I do for a few things. Master bonus, more attack power. Get it. You need to have Rosencruz and Achilles maxed out. Oh wow, that's just funny. They called Hymen points on the translation. But anyways, I do believe she still needs soul points. So, yeah, you don't need to get the holy ones. It's been a long time since I unlocked her anyway. That's why I don't fully remember. But, here's stuff I do know without even looking at it. First skill does a crap ton of damage based on the number of buffs she has on herself. And it is a strong one. I've managed to get 13, 14, maybe even 15 buffs on her at once. You'll see why in a second. Self buffs she gets. Her attack power, combo rate, burst gauge up. As in, like, the amount she gets per hit or something like that. Up for 5 turns. 5 turns of that self buff. But wait, there's more. Her defense. Her resistance or bad statuses. Regen, meaning she doesn't get the energy drain. And she applies Reflect to herself, meaning if she gets hit, she'll send some damage back. All up on the second buff. Second set of self buffs. Those two combined can make her pretty tanky and deal a lot of damage all at the same time. Apply these every single time you get the chance to. But to go even further, she's going to get an EX skill eventually that you can get, where she can deal more damage, both naturally and her upper damage limit, going up from stacks. And it says it lasts 10 turns, and you can do it every 3. So you can get 3, maybe 4 times stacks of this, which can be a lot. I'll have to look and see how much it is if they list it. But also, the other one she can get, damage based on current HP. I don't know if it's based on how much she has, or if she has to have a lot or a little, but who knows. And the interesting thing is, too, she gets an assist ability that reduces her abilities cooldown by 1 turn. So honestly, that over limit is going to end up getting 5 stacks. Guaranteed. Up to 5 stacks guaranteed. Because it's going to remove it by 1. Yeah. Anyways, Full Break can do a lot. Raising Assault and the other ones can do quite a bit. This is where I want to look at some of her stuff, if possible, but they don't seem to have it. I'll have to personally look into that. But yeah, just her normal kit. Like, don't even look at the bottom parts. where it says over limit and life burst. Just the full break, raising assault, and tenacity, all three of those is pretty good together. I've used her a lot for my light team. 9 times out of 10, when people go after weapons for the souls, it's either Herc or Shingen, which is going to be another one we'll go to later down the line. And believe me, it's well worth it, because here's where we're going even further. Either weapon you get on pawn burst will lower defense by 25% in that Dolan frame. Very, very good. And looking at her weapon, she gets an axe and a bow. I know for a fact that the axe is definitely the elemental attack one. And anytime she uses that defensive buff where it's gives her defense and reflect and regen, stuff like that. Anytime she uses it while she has her axe on, you get 30 burst gauge with it. But here's what the bow does, if you happen to go that route. Which isn't really likely, but it's a thought. It will increase her full break, where the damage increase she gets per buff will be upped even more. I think it was 50%, now it's going to be 75, as it says here. And the hard limit will be 1 million. Meaning you will not have problems upping the damage to 1 million. And going past that is going to be harder. It was 700,000 before. So, yeah. Hercules is a very, very good soul. And with a lot of her buffs and whatnot, she can survive pretty nicely. Keep that in mind. This is another one I've seen people play around with too. And she can actually be useful in a lot of cases. But Morgan, defense, it can help. You need Cassiopeia and Cagliostro maxed out, and you need Holy Soul points. A lot of them to even reach this point. But here's what she does. Right out the gate, she can force somebody to do triple for 2 turns. Very, 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 very good. Her second ability, which is a lot of people don't tend to use, but it can help. It says HP recovery / alleged. I don't even know what the translation is. And defense up. This one can heal one person. And I do believe get an attack and defense. This is also kind of good. Remember, sometimes you do need single target healing over whole team heal. And the single targets tend to heal more than the whole team usually at their upper limits. Like most single target ones tend to get like 2,000, maybe even 3,000, and I see the whole ally heal maybe be like 2,000 tops. Usually around 1,600. It depends. But anyways, I know this is the main reason why anybody uses her. It says Rampage is given to everybody. It used to be one person, but now it's everybody. And it can get buffed even further later down the line. But anyways, I don't know what these next 2 are. It says that she can eventually learn. It says gaming and attack to a single ally. I don't know. But we're going to look at them if we can. Oh, it looks like it's going to end up being a sneak attack one, meaning a critical hit basically, for giving that to one ally. But honestly, I don't fully know what this is saying about this description and stuff right here. Like, I'll even highlight it. Like, this right here, I don't know what it's really saying with this, because the translations on this is kind of iffy on Google Translate, but if anybody knows what that says, then please get back to me on that one. But anyways, when she bursts, there's a chance of Dizzy with her special weapons. It's a meh. It's a meh. But anyways, what she uses, staffs and it says magical guide. I guess that's the arcane weapon. But by the looks of things, put a staff on her. Elemental attack. Yeah. But the whole thing is the fact that her rampaging is doubled, so is officially at 100%. It can be very, very good. Very, very, very good. Keep in mind, you just can't use any abilities or whatever. You can only attack when you put rampaging on. Then her arcane weapon, which is going to end up being the HP one. It says, applying to the struggle is a trigger effect. Okay, so, yeah. Just from the last line, it says, it becomes possible to give one person 3-stage attack. So, that means it's probably going to end up giving 2 counts of that, that combo rate attack. One to herself and one to an ally. So, yeah. She can help with that. Again, she's a little niche, but she can actually be useful. But most people use her for that rampaging. Because rampaging can do a lot. It's underrated. When you're not pulling out bursts, rampaging can sip and do a lot of damage. And oh boy, this has been a long run with this video, but here's where it's about to end. Shingen's definitely the one that I do tend to see a lot of top tier teams use the most. Because there's a load of stuff she gets. First off, when you level her, her combo rate goes up. And then on top of that, her own attack power increases as well. But her master bonus is HP. Yeah. You already know the drill. Gilgamesh and Masamune both need to be max. And you need Holy Soul points. Again, hard to do, but well worth it. But here's the main reasons why she's used so much. First off, first turn, gains burst gauge, and helps. It helps. Second move, and this is the one that a lot of people use her for, or even put it as an EX skill. Within the next 3 turns, everyone's burst damage, not burst cap limit, burst damage up by 200%. But it costs some of her burst gauge, 50, to really put it in effect. Be very careful of that. This is an EX skill I use quite a bit, but for 3 turns, the combo rate is up for everybody, and it actually does have a very high amount of combo rate when I use it for some reason. It's like I almost always see at least 2-3 people comboing when I put that in effect. It's a very good one. But, oh boy. Oh boy. These abilities she can learn later down the line is already looking very good. It says overall burst gauge up for one of them. That means I think it gives everybody some burst gauge. Period. Just use that as an EX skill if you manage to get it. But if you really want to go a different route, it says burst streak damage up for 1 turn. So if you plan on doing a burst and use that, the final hit when you do the burst streak, which hopefully is a full burst, it's going to get increased as well. That is insane. And her EX skills are mainly set towards burst as well. I don't need to see anything else on that one. That was just beast. Yeah, 25% burst streak damage. Most Sadoans try to do it for 20 if they even have that ability, so that's pretty good. At least for final hit reasons anyways. Yeah, it says burst gauge is an ally. Burst gauge of the ally as a whole, meaning they all get 20 bursts. So honestly, combining that with her first ability, yeah, it becomes way easier to use Provisional Forest. Whew, boy. Especially with this one move, too, right here. Because either weapon you get with her is going to have her own burst gauge go up at 30. But, oh, boy. This is where it becomes a little bit picky, because it depends on if you want to be able to frequently use her provisional force more, or if you want to make the provisional force way more powerful. But, anyways. Oh, boy. First off, her elemental attack weapon. The first skill that increases her burst, when she uses it, gets an extra 15, making it 35 whenever she uses it. Combine this with the one EX skill she'll get later down the line, or you can get later down the line, and her own burst. That is a grand total of 85 burst gauge to herself and 20 to all your allies. Period. That is a stupidly high amount of burst generation. But then on top of that, if you go for the bow instead of her spear, which, yeah, I think she does use spears, yeah. If you go for a bow instead of her spear, it's HP. But the main reason why anybody gets this, and I'm absolutely getting this for my win team at some point, because they can do a lot of bursts right there. But this weapon will increase the provisional force buff from 200% to 500%. That said, the burst mod automatically hits 10 times her SSR Kamihime, and that's usually around the hard cap limit. And if anybody can raise burst damage in a separate frame, it becomes even stronger. You are more than likely doubling your burst damage. I'm guessing. But you're likely doubling your burst damage if you get this weapon. A lot of people like getting Shingen. This is probably the weapon to go for, her HP weapon. Her attack power one isn't too bad either. It can really have some uses. I could see that. She gets nearly her whole burst gauge back with the right circumstances. Heck, with others that can actually increase it too, it's like guaranteed. I could see a Thunder team using that first one and going with that weapon and saying having somebody like Romuald, she would have 95 burst. 95 burst gauge right there. But bow is definitely the one you really want to go after more than the spear, in my opinion, because provisional force getting that much of a power spike. Oh boy, that's insane. But yes, Shingen is definitely one that a lot of people go after, and that takes us to the last part of this video, which is going to end up being the ratings. Now, I'm not going to suggest who to go after first, aside from Mordred and D'Artagnan, because of specific reasons. But after that is where you might want to get a little bit picky. Me personally, you can have a very safe bet going after these souls first: Arthur, Jeanne, Andromeda, Mordred, D'Artagnan, Hercules, and Shingen. You have a very safe bet going after them. But if you really are a brand new player, I flat out suggest getting Mordred first before anybody else. Mordred and maybe Andromeda, but you're just fine getting Cassiopeia until later on. But definitely aim for Mordred. When you start branching out a little bit more, then you might want to go after D'Artagnan, Arthur, Andromeda, Jeanne, and the other ones I mentioned. But by the time you're ready to start dealing with some very hard content like the catastrophe fights and all that, definitely try to get Hercules, definitely try to get Shingen, because that will definitely help you out in those. And most people sit up and say, anyways, when in doubt, go for Hercules' soul weapon, her axe. Not the other one, her axe. And I can see why. Especially having personal experience with that Herc axe, oh boy. But anyways, that's the biggest thing. It's no set stone on how you go for your souls, but me personally, I do suggest going for Mordred first, because she's hands down the most useful, but by far not the most powerful. But you can indeed screw up if you're going after these ones first. Siegfried is very situational to use. Solomon is only for early, if you want to clear early game or just go for a legendary soul very quickly, because they do tend to have better stuff, usually. But Solomon's cheap. That's the only real thing about her. Siegfried, you have to be very specific on using her. Simple as that. If you actually want to use D'Artagnan, then it's drop rate grinding, basically. Most people just get her for the sniper shot and call it a day. Morgan can help you out quite a lot more compared to some of the other ones that I said was crap, like, well, not crap, but weaker, like Solomon and Siegfried. But Morgan's still situational. If you're going to use her, just go for her rampaging buff increase and call it a day. Shingen and Hercules is definitely one of your two main targets by the end of the game, period, point blank. Well, not end of the game, but you get what I mean. With Arthur being a very close third. Top 3 is easily going to be Arthur, Hercules, and Shingen. But if I'm to rate them all by how much I would give them on a scale of 1 to 10, Arthur is easily an 8. Jeanne and Andromeda for me would get a 7 out of 10. Solomon gets a 3 out of 10. Seriously. Siegfried. And I'm going by overall usefulness. Siegfried would get a 4. Mordred gets a 6. Seriously, she gets a 6. She's very, very useful, but in terms of just overall power output, she's not really that good. But the debuffs, oh hell yes. D'Artagnan, surprisingly, is getting a 2 out of 10. D'Artagnan gets a 2 out of 10. Simply for the sole fact that she is mainly a drop rate grinding character. Unless you're trying to go for the sniper shot, in which case she just ups to a 4 out of 10. If you get her weapon for the sniper shot, that's a 4 out of 10, because a 30% debuff decrease to both is the thing that would make up for all that. Hercules, I'm getting a 9 out of 10. The only thing that is really truly holding her back is the fact that she's so oriented on her full break. It can do a lot of damage, but if that was replaced with something that can go a little bit further, like say energy drain and a heal or something like that, she would get a 10. Morgan, I would give her a 5. Only because of the rampaging buff. Other than that, she'd have a 4. Morgan's not too useful outside of the rampaging buff for the team. But she can have her uses, from what I've seen. She's also a very situational one, but like I said, she's the better pick between Solomon, Siegfried, and her. Shingen, if you know how to use her, she'd easily be a 10. But if you don't, she's still an 8. The main reason is that Provisional Force, because you have to try and get her 50 back before it wears off. Or at least have 4 people at full burst. If you have 4 people ready for a full burst, then Provisional Force isn't too much of a drawback. Because it's been calculated that 4 SSR doing their burst under Provisional Force is about the same amount of power you would get as a normal full burst without Provisional Force. But it's still the simple fact that you need to know how to use Provisional Force before even using Shingen. That's the biggest problem. So, that said, you have to learn how to use her. Once you do, she easily becomes a 10, and I'd even go so far as to call her an 11 if you get her bow. If you get Herc's axe, I can call her a 10. In fact, if you get anybody's weapons, just upgrade them by 1. Maybe 2 in the case of D'Artagnan, but upgrade them by 1 for the ratings. And like I said, other notable ones to probably have is Gawain, because she's got a debuff that's very good. Cassiopeia, because she's got some very nice little tricks up her sleeve as well. I personally like Gilgamesh because she gets a direct mode gauge reduction, which really helps if you're trying to knock somebody out of raging. Do not underestimate those. Esmond for the combo rate. Granuel if you can't get sniper shot. And then maybe Achilles and Masamune because they can have some uses too. Because Achilles can get a lot of self-stacking, and then Masamune, she comes with stuff that can help everybody burst generation. That's pretty much it. And if I'm going to recommend anybody out of the basics, you already get Lancelot. Don't even worry about her. Vivian. And Billy the Kid. Yes, I hesitated on that. Those are really the only two. That's really the only two. Because Billy the Kid will help you with the drop rate grinding. Because weaker players are going to definitely want to get some drop rate increases. Because, you know, of course, you want to try to get more powerful stuff. Which can indeed include getting some more stuff for souls. Because, hey, guess what? Advent events. You can trade for soul points. You need items to do that. Guess who's going to help you the most? The drop rate characters. Because they'll increase the drop rate of those items, and sometimes you might even luck out and get a platinum chest. So, yeah. That's the only reason why I can recommend Billy the Kid very soon. But this doesn't factor in who you will need in order to get some of the better stuff later down the line. Because remember, Mordred's definitely one you have to aim for, but you have to get like a grand total of like 7 different souls to get her. Well, no, probably not 7. Yeah, see, you need Van Helsing, you need Asmund, and you need Rosencruz to get Mordred. But to get Rosencruz, you got to keep in mind you need somebody else as well. You need Merlin and Lancelot to get Rosencruz. So yeah, you need 2 to get Rosencruz, then you need 2 to get Asmund. And then you can get Mordred. So that's the one thing you gotta keep in mind. You gotta plan out your paths correctly. And since you're already on your way to get Rosencruz, I'd say pick up Solomon after getting Mordred, because Solomon is still very cheap. You're most likely going to have Solomon and Mordred as your first 2. Simple as that. I ended up getting Solomon first, then Mordred. And then I got Arthur. But I will say this without a doubt. After you focus on one main soul, start branching out to the others, because you remember, master bonuses are a thing. They will stick to your soul regardless of what they do. Get them all. Get them all if you want your soul to be at maximum power. Because I don't think Recovery Mount does anything, but still, get it just in case. But their abilities will start doing more damage. They'll start knocking out mode gazes a little bit more. They'll stop getting debuffed as less. They'll have more health, attack power, and defense. Get them all. And the reason they said 6% and all that is because you'll have them along the way. But honestly, if you want to know what they'll all combine to, add them up from this page. Speaking of which, I'm going to leave this page in the description. But anyways, that's all I'm doing for this video because it's almost 2 fucking hours. But anyways, link to this page in the description. And the next guide I will probably do is going to be status effects. I'm still trying to research a little bit more about accessories, but the next thing I'm going to do is status effects. Because there's a freaking ton of them in the game. Some of them we haven't gotten to yet, but others, yes. I'm going to do a page of status effects, the next one, because you need to know what a lot of them do anyways. Some are very dangerous, and some can really help you out. So, that's the next target for any of these type of guides. But anyways, this has been a long video. I'm tired of talking. My throat's starting to hurt. My voice is starting to change. So I'm done with the 2-hour guide. If you've watched all of this, thank you. I'm sorry for this being long, but this is a lot of crap to cover. But anyways, that's all for this video, guys. Take care.